What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. So as you probably know, Chapter 2 Season 6 is just about to come to an end about this week. So as you know, I typically do Fortnite tips and tricks type content, but right now in the season, really there's not much to talk about, so I figured why not do something a bit different to finish off the season. So in today's video, guys, what I'm basically going to be doing is doing a Fortnite seasons tier list. So I'm going to be going over all the Fortnite seasons and kind of just giving my opinion and telling you guys which ones I think were the best and the worst. But with that said, guys, if you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like on it and let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this video, as well as subscribing if you want to see more content just like this and other tips and tricks content. But with that said, and without further ado, let's get into the tier list. Alrighty, guys, so hopping here into the tier list, I guess we're just going to get straight into it. Obviously, I have my seasons here labeled 1 through 16, or I guess chapter 1, chapter 2, whatever you want to say. But basically, they're just labeled in order, so I'm going to go one by one. So starting off with season 1 of chapter 1, basically the first season ever. I'm not really going to count the preseason, but that's basically the same thing, to be honest. I guess this season was basically just the core of Fortnite. Like, there was a lot of bugs and stuff, but at the same time, it was just a really good game, nice and fresh, and everything was just, I mean, good. This was before they ever started making stupid updates, and the game was really just very simple, very plain. So I guess while it was a very good season and like fun to play at the time, it was also not very polished. So I'm gonna put this at the good tier, or I guess the cool tier. It was good, but it wasn't great, and it also wasn't bad. Like, if you look at it from like a technical perspective, like how good the game actually was in terms of its quality and like the mechanics and stuff, it was pretty bad. But at the same time, if you look at how fun it was and how fresh it was at the time, it would be godly. So I'm gonna put it right there in the middle. Moving on to chapter 1 season 2 though, and this is where you had skins like the Black Knight, the Blue Knight, and all those, and you had the first battle pass. You also had some changes coming to the game, like I think Tilted was introduced at this point, and so much more stuff. The game was really starting to heat up, and I'm gonna put this at amazing. My only reason being for it not being in the godly tier was, once again, there were a lot of bugs and stuff. It was kind of clunky a bit, but yeah, overall chapter 1 season 2, amazing season. It was awesome, and really there's not much to complain about apart from the game just not being super polished. But moving on from that, guys, we're going into season 3, and season 3 was personally when I started playing. Obviously I've heard testimonials and stuff and like actually seen gameplay from seasons 1 and 2, but this was where I actually started to play the game, and personally I'm gonna put this in the godly tier, absolutely no question. Awesome battle pass. You had the Rust Lord, Dark Voyager, John Wick. We also started to see a bunch of map changes, like I think that was the introduction of Lucky Landing, and alongside that you also had a ton of content creators starting to make videos on the game, like Ninja, Dr. Lupo, Tim, and all those guys. And overall the game was just in an awesome state, amazing map, and everything was just going well. And I think there were a ton of map changes. I can't really name them all. I think Shifty Shafts, Tilted was already from the last season, but it was obviously there. And yeah, I'm sure I'm missing a few, but overall this was an awesome season, and personally my favorite season in the history of the game. Moving on from that though, I think once we reached season 4, Fortnite kind of went on a downhill spiral a bit. Now, it was obviously an awesome season. You had the superhero skins, so fun. You had an awesome storyline, and this was where the whole storyline started to pick up, sort of, with the destruction of Dusty Depot. As well as that, you had the Hop Rocks, you had new locations like Risky Reels, and everything was really nice. But the issue is that you started to see the spray meta come into play. We had things like the LMG, I think we had certain types of SMGs, and overall it was just becoming the meta to basically just jump on someone and spray them. I think for the majority of this season we still had double pump, so there was a counter, but eventually they did get rid of double pump, which basically sent it into a really bad state. But overall, I'm gonna put season 4 probably in either the cool or amazing category. I think I'm gonna put it at the top of cool, just because it was very good, but the spray meta really started to take its toll here, and I think it was starting to cause an issue with the game. Moving on to season 5, you kind of had a similar issue here. The spray meta was just going into full effect, and the game was still fun. You had stuff like ATKs, you had a whole new biome, the desert biome. We also started to see some really big tournaments come out. I think the Summer Skirmish was at this point, so competitive was in a good spot. But once again, the big issue here was just the spray meta, the LMGs, the drum gun, I think, at this point. So really, that was kind of getting bad, but overall, it was a really good season. I'm going to put it at the bottom of amazing. Like, kind of season 4 and 5 are kind of similar here. Season 5 is like the bottom of amazing, and season 4 is the top of cool. And the main reason I put 5 above 4 is just because of the tournaments and stuff, the whole introduction of that. Moving on, now, contrary to what a lot of people people think, I actually think that Chapter 1 Season 6 was one of the better seasons in the game. Apart from the whole zombie fiasco where you'd basically just get swarmed by zombies wherever you go, it was really a good season. I like the whole like loot lake thing where it kind of like went up and turned into the spiral. I also liked the dark theme that they had. Like you had the Calamity skin and all those. You had dark locations, shadows, rifts, and stuff like that. So once again, I'm gonna put this like right at the middle of the amazing category. Obviously, there were a lot of little things that were frustrating, like the zombies could come up and kill you, but you could also get really good loot from them. And I think it was overall, like it wasn't perfect, but it was a very good season in my opinion. Also, I forgot to mention, I think you had the secret skirmish and all that stuff, and competitive was still starting to heat up. So this was really a good season overall. Moving on though, talking about season 7, and this is another season, guys. I just think these seasons were good. Like I don't think that season 7 was a bad season. You had the introduction of things like Polar Peak, the whole kind of like wintry biome part. I think you had planes like scattered all around the map, and I'm sure there were a bunch of other changes that I'm forgetting about, but overall season 7 was a great season. I think season 7 was also the introduction of custom matchmaking, and I remember on my twitch.tv/Techo, by the way, I used to host like a bunch of customs in season 7. Like we'd all land at the same location and like fight it out, or we'd have like a big scrim or something like that. I'm kind of going off topic, but that was a really fun season for me as well. So overall, with the awesome map changes and stuff, I'm gonna put this one just around season 6, probably just under season 6 in the amazing category. And moving on to season 8, you probably already know where I'm gonna put this. Godly category, no question about it. Once again, a whole new biome was introduced to the game, the volcano, all the cool like little locations like Sunny Steps. You also had treasure maps, you had the whole like pirate sort of theme. It was awesome. And this was also the introduction of the World Cup qualifiers, guys, and that was amazing. Like $100 million was passed out in that tournament, and that's just absolutely nuts. This was peak Fortnite in my opinion, and it was just amazing in all ways. Like I really just can't think of anything in particular that I disliked about season 8. I guess there were some little things, like I wasn't a huge fan of the ballers, but that was still not too bad. Drum guns were still a little bit OP after the unvaulting event where they were brought back, but they still weren't like overpowered to the point where you couldn't fight against them. Overall, I think it was a pretty balanced season and really just good. Moving on from that though, season 9 of chapter 1, obviously I think you already know I'm going to put this pretty high. World Cup finals, it was just a great season overall. I will say that I was not a fan and still am not a fan of any of the pump removal stuff. I think that that's one of the core weapons of the game, and I think they made a big mistake by removing it. But overall, World Cup qualifiers, it was just a huge season. The changes were pretty good. I like the whole futuristic theme with Retail Row and Tilted, or I guess Neo Tilted and Mega Mall, I think it was. So overall, I'm going to put this pretty high in the amazing category, probably right at the top, honestly, right above season 2. But moving on from that, guys, we've got season X, season 10, and I think we all are going to agree on this one. This one goes straight into the awful category. The gameplay itself wasn't too bad. Like it still wasn't a horrid season to play. I guess if you look at it from the perspective of like a casual player, like maybe the mechs and stuff, or I guess the brute, whatever they call it, were pretty fun to play with at times. But really, it was left in for too long. They didn't really balance it, or I guess they kind of made like some half balances to it. But really, the mechs kind of just ruined this season. I think that the whole return to the past thing was a cool idea, but really wasn't implemented that well with the rift zones and stuff. I will say though that I did like the tilted, the little Wild West tilted type thing where you could only shoot and couldn't build. That was pretty fun, but overall this season was just awful in general, and a lot of the changes were really poor for the game's health. But let me know down in the comments, guys, if you think I was a bit harsh on this one, because I don't know, I'm kind of like between bad and awful on this one. So let me know down in the comments what you think of season X. But moving on, guys, after that 36-hour black hole event where we were basically just staring at a blank screen for the whole time, we finally saw the release of Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 1, which is a massive change to the game. Literally a whole new map, whole new loot pool, and everything was just completely overdone. Honestly, a lot of people didn't like the changes that came with Chapter 2, but personally, I loved it. The new map was awesome, and everything was just really nice. At least that was the case until like a few weeks or a few months in, where they basically just wouldn't do any updates. Like the whole thing was awesome, but they just didn't change the game at all. So that kind of is going to take it down a little bit. So if this season was just a pure change and they kept updating and stuff, kept making new things, and I would definitely put this up in Godly, even potentially the best season or like right behind season 3. But due to this whole thing, I'm going to put it in the bottom of cool. But once again, guys, awesome changes. I absolutely love the update, but the lack of communication and the no updates thing that happened for so long kind of just held it down. Okay, guys, actually going back to this Chapter 2 Season 1, fun. I am actually going to move this up to like the top of the cool category in my opinion, because they did have some really good tournaments like the solo cash cups and stuff. They still had some really good prize pools, so I do want to give them credit for that. But with that said, I'm not quite up there in the amazing category yet for this season. Like, it's good, but it's not great, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But moving on to chapter 2 season 2, this season was pretty cool at the start. Like, they added the mythic weapons, the new agency location, and I'm sure there's some other stuff I'm forgetting. But there were two issues with this season in my opinion. One was the fact that the mythic weapons were so OP and they didn't really do anything about it. So when it came time for tournaments, I don't know if it was the duo FNCS this season. Yeah, I think it was the duo FNCS. When it came to duo FNCS, basically everybody was just 50-50ing agency and all the other mythic stuff. And really it just led to some issues in competitive, and basically whoever had the mythic weapons basically took over the whole tournament. Alongside that, there also weren't that many updates this season, and it was kind of just plain after a while. So I'm gonna put this in the meh category. Like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't awful, and it wasn't great either. It was kind of just there in the middle, kind of mediocre, I guess. As well as that, chapter 2 season 3 was actually a really cool season in my opinion. I didn't find it to be like the most unique or crazy season ever, but the whole water thing, the map getting flooded, it was pretty nice. Okay, that kind of sounds sadistic, but basically the whole flood thing was a pretty unique change to the game. The sharks and all that stuff, it was pretty fun, but once again, after a while, they just didn't update it that much, so I'm gonna put it probably at the bottom of the cool category. There were some really cool updates, and it was a fun season to play, but they also didn't update it that much after, and it was fun, but wasn't that great after a while. But with that said, moving on to chapter 2 season 4, we have the Nexus War, the whole like what is it, that big island, Stark Industries it was the Marvel season, and it was a really cool season in my opinion. The pumps were added back, which was a huge bonus, but really after a while, once again, they just didn't update it that much, and it kind of got plain. During this season, I kind of stopped playing as much for a while. I don't know why, I just didn't really have the motivation for it. Like, the game was still fun, there was some really cool stuff, but I'm gonna put it in the meh category. Like, don't get me wrong, the Nexus War and like the Marvel whole thing was pretty cool, and it was a nice twist on the game, but I just didn't find it to be that great after a while. I feel like having a full sponsored season was a bit weird, but they did it well, honestly, given the circumstances. Moving on to chapter 2 season 5, we've got another one of those kind of sponsored seasons with the Mandalorian. The whole middle of the chapter 2 map was kind of turned into a desert area. You had like the big castle looking thing. I think you also had like a resemblance of Tilted added, but overall this season was just really underwhelming. It wasn't that memorable to me, and I'm honestly gonna put it in the bad category. Like, I wouldn't say the season was awful, and it definitely wasn't designed poorly, but it just wasn't that memorable to me, and I just didn't find it that great. And finally guys, moving into the latest season of Fortnite, chapter 2 season 6. So they added the mechanical parts and crafting, which is a pretty cool change, pretty unique, and I like the idea of it, to be honest. I'll give them that. You also had the new locations like the spire in the middle, and you also had the I think it's called Bony Burbs now, but it was previously Salty Towers in season 5. Then you've got like the little farm area that replaced like the Coliseum castle type thing. Like, once again, this season wasn't horrible. It wasn't just absolutely awful to play, but it also just wasn't that memorable. I haven't really been that motivated to get in and grind the game for some reason, and overall I'm gonna put it in like the bottom of the meh category. Actually no, I'm probably gonna put it at the top of bad. Like, I think it's a little bit better than last season just because the whole crafting changes and stuff, I think that was pretty unique. They also added animals so you can run around with a chicken on your head, but apart from that, it really wasn't that unique, wasn't that memorable, and it just wasn't that insane. I really think guys that the whole chapter 2 thing, without the patch notes, without like the constant updates and stuff, I feel like these seasons get a lot more bland really fast. So unless we're talking about something like season X where they just had something blatantly overpowered in the game that was just like completely shouldn't be there, then apart from that, it was really just decent, I guess. But yeah guys, in conclusion, this is going to be it for my tier list. So in the godly category, we've got chapter 1 season 3 and 8. In the amazing category, we've got chapter 1 season 9, chapter 1 season 2, chapter 1 season 6, and chapter 1 season 7, along with chapter 1 season 5. On the top of cool, we've got chapter 2 season 1, we've got chapter 1 season 4, chapter 1 season 1, and then chapter 2 season 3. In the meh category, we've got chapter 2 season 4 and chapter 2 season 2. Bad is chapter 2 season 5 and 6, and awful is season X. So let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this tier list, along with what you guys kind of thought of this video in general. Usually I do tips and tricks videos, as you know, but tips and tricks is kind of quiet right now. There's not really that much to cover since there hasn't been a lot of updates, so I'd really just be repeating a lot of content, which I don't want to do. So yeah guys, I figured today, why not try something new, try something a bit unique, and let me know what you think of it. But with that said guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. So once again, here's the tier list. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of it, if you would change anything, or if you think that this is a good list. And I also want you guys to let me know what your favorite season is. What's your favorite season in the history of Fortnite, because I'm curious to hear what that is. is. Personally, I've probably got to give that to chapter 1 season 3 or maybe chapter 1 season 8. I don't know, one of these two. But yeah, once again, let me know what you think down in the comments. But with that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. So if you did enjoy it, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe if you want to see more content just like this in the future, along with some tips and tricks content and stuff like that. I guess I make tips and tricks content more, but whatever. But with that said, guys, once again, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.